2024 has been quite a dark year for me, and I switched off or deprioritized cubing quite a bit, but it has been a golden year for cubing with a lot of new products, and because of that I did change a handful of my mains. So starting off with 2x2 and Megaminx, I still have the same Mo Tang Port and YJ Yihu, which I'll probably use if I had to compete, although it's not likely that I'll even take these events seriously, and an honorable mention goes to the Light Infinity 2M, for just being an insult to the entire customizations arms race. For 3x3, there are a total of 3 cubes that I would pick from, and the RS3 is probably the top one. I'll go for it due to its stability and reliability. Mine is maglev by the factory, and ball core by myself, and there's no logo because I want to use this in 3 blind. Next I have a UV ball core Huameng YS3 that I mainly like this cube for feeling like the original Valkyrie, maybe a bit smoother. And finally I have the Aosu WRM. This one is light and fast and it has a different feel. This one actually started out as the minimalist version of the Meilong V10, but it has been converted to having screws instead of the original adjustment system, and the mechanism has been modified to have a double anchor, just like the original Aochuang. Although I would have to admit that the modification done to the mechanism is more for the bragging right than actually making the cube wood. As for the only small cube that I actually care about, I would say that this event finally received new hardware this year, which was the Aosu P7, which does not disappoint, and while the double track is probably the best version, I specifically sought out the triple track just for the sake of making out the explanation video. My triple track is also not normal one. I have swapped out the entire circuit of inner layer magnets to a weaker one so that the middles feels less tight and slow. The main negative thing I can say about the triple track is that I find it a bit too slow for my liking, but other than that, this is a crazy good cube. The overall cube size is perfect, inner to outer ratio is perfect, and the stability is just way above every other 4x4. The corner cuttings are also the most generous of them all. And after 3 years of not beating my 38-second average of 5 PB, I actually got a 36-second average of 5 on this cube. Meanwhile, the dorito-modded Aosu WRM with core corner magnets is also really good. This is just a nice alternative to practice on. It's a bit faster and it has more equal inners and outers compared with the stock Aosu WRM and also the triple track V7. Finally, because the top 2 are so good, I'm probably less likely to use these 2, but they're still really nice. So probably third in line would be the Chili M Pro. This one is ball core plus spring compression. I think that's about all the mods I've done to it. I mainly like this cube because it's small until this one came out. Like, I actually got this cube and made all the modifications to it even before this was announced, but ever since I got this, kind of replaced all the need to use this. Of course, this is the Meilong 4. Once again, this cube is good for being super stable, but then this thing came out and it's way more stable than this. So for 5x5, the one cube that I kind of wish I didn't actually buy is the X-Men Hong. At the beginning of this year, this Aochuang V6 was not announced, and I thought the Gun 562 comparable in standard, so I thought I could just survive with this, so I got it first. And it was a bit slow out of the box. Initially more stable than what it is now, but what I did was I spring compressed it to speed it up, but that also sacrificed the stability a bit. And even then, there was still a discrepancy between how good the outer layer was compared to the inners, so I dorito-modded the inners to improve them a bit, but they're still a little bit slower and stiffer than the outers. Then when the Gun 562 came out, turned out it is not slightly better than the Hong, it is a lot better. Like just in paper, although actually in practice I get similar times because this is a bit smaller, but in paper, like when it comes to the stats of how stable it is, how fast it is, and how equal the outer and inner layers feel compared to each other, this one is just way better. And since it's the best 5x5 I have on hand right now, it kind of counts as my main, although if you have watched some of my videos already, I've also tried the Aochuang V6. I do think it's at least comparable with the Gun 562. Although there are a few versions of the cube, and I think if I would really put in my effort to go and buy the single track and go and mod my own ball core into it, I think I can possibly make it better than the Gun 562. But for now, I'm still sticking with the Gun 562. For 6x6, the option that most people would probably go with is the Aoshi, and technically I still think this is the best 6x6 I have on hand. I don't have that much to say about it. It's just most people's top picks, and it's really good tube, really solid, very stable, very fast, and nothing bad to say about it. The other option that I also use on and off is the Meilong 6, and actually what happens is the advantage of the Meilong 6 is that it's smaller, lighter, and faster. But the disadvantage is it has stability issues, so it kind of feels like what my home would have felt compared to the Gun 562. Like, let's say if 6x6 happens to occur at the beginning of the day in a competition, I'm probably more likely to use this one because I got the energy to bash it, and this one is just much more reliable. But towards the end of the day, I just like in a few competitions, even though I actually brought both cubes, but I just felt like turning something that's a bit smaller and lighter with like really little effort per turn, and this one just turned out to be just a nice pick. 7x7, I would say the situation is a bit reversed. So the Meilong 7 is good for all the same reasons why the Meilong 6 is good, but it doesn't have any stability issues, it doesn't flex unnecessarily, it's pretty solid. And because of that, it doesn't really have much disadvantages over the Aofu. Maybe just corner cutting, but I don't really use that much of corner cutting, and even then, it can reverse cut significantly bigger than the Florin hose, and I haven't even Florin modded this. This is just the ball core mod. Usually when you buy a third-party ball core kit, it's big enough to cover the ridges of the core. But mine is actually physically smaller than the ridge. You can still see the ridges of the core. I designed an 8-piece ball core to sit in between 3 ridges instead of a 2-piece one that like overcomes the ridges. So what this means is that I technically built a ball core with a smaller radius, and I just cut the torpedo shorter. Normally people they'll rise the inside circle as big as they can without touching the torpedo, and they'll sink the outside circle as deep as they can without touching the torpedo. What I did was cut the torpedo short, not completely gone, so that it still works and the cube doesn't pop. And true enough, I have 0 explosions on this so far. And I just descended these magnets deeper than the torpedo, which means that the center of rotation is nearer the core. What actually is my backup 7x7? I used to have 2 Aosu WRMs, one with core corner magnets and one without. And the thing is, I actually liked the one without better because it's faster. So I actually sold the one with core corner magnets to another Singaporean cuber. And for the one without core corner magnets, it was still too slow for me. So what I did was I dorito-modded it. But standard version of the dorito-mod, which is meant to speed up the middle layers to make them more similar to the outer layers. My issue with the Aosu WRM itself is just the whole cube was slow. It's not the inner layers were slow. So I also dorito-modded the outermost layer. So you can see all 3 layers have the dorito-mod done to them. And the cube is still slower than my Meilong, and I cannot solve it as fast as my Meilong, but it's currently the second best 7x7 I have on hand. So 8x8 Florin modded Tiansheng, no changes here. 9x9 UV coated Qi version 1. Now I use a weaker magnet in the outer layer and the same magnets in every single one of the inner layers. So I know Qi has already made a 9x9 V2, and I'm quite excited to try that out. It actually has the same mechanism as the V1, just that they added the Aosu WRM and GTS anti-deforming mechanism, meaning that all these very annoying pieces will now have one extra thing that sticks out, and you're much less likely to get a deforming lockup. Okay? For the 10x10, I'm still using a magnetic Meilong. One unusual thing about my Meilong is that, okay, now it's slow because I haven't used it in a while and I haven't played 10x10 in a while, but one unusual thing about this cube is that I've magnetized every layer except the middle one, because the middle one itself it really takes up most of the cube when you turn it. So it does, like, there's not much extra stability when you magnetize the middle. I haven't found the need to get a Tiansheng because I also don't do 10x10 that much.